What's going on, Paisanos? V here, and today I have my Shaddoll Invoked Dogmatika deck profile. Now, I'm going to be doing a lot of videos talking about Shaddolls. If anyone doesn't understand or know, I am a big enthusiast about this deck. It's my favorite deck in the game. One of my favorite decks. I like Black Wings as well. And I think Shaddolls right now in this meta is super duper, one, underrepresented, but two, I think everyone's scared to play this deck because it's a resource-based deck, and the meta really is super aggressive right now. But I think resource-based decks are just really good against these aggressive style decks because once you break them down and set our board up, the game is basically over for almost every deck in the game. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over my deck. I played this yesterday at Locals. I haven't touched my deck in about a month. Played yesterday at Locals, got second place. I lost to Drytrons, and that was my misplay. Another thing I like about Shaddolls is it teaches you as a player, no matter how good or bad you are, the deck constantly teaches you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on my main deck, side deck, extra deck, and then I'm going to break down everything, just every single thing about this deck, and we're going to talk about it. I'm going to play different variations of this deck as well, by the way. Alright, so the first thing we have is 3 Alistair. Up next, we're going to have, for the Shaddolls, 2 Wendy, 2 Squamata, 1 Ariel, 1 Hedgehog. I don't know why my lighting is not that good. That's probably a little bit better. Yeah. Anyway, 1 Ariel, 1 Hedgehog, 1 Dragon, 1 Beast. And this is basically the Shaddoll engine part of it. For Dogmatikas, we have 1 Ecclesia and 1 Fleur de Lis. We don't play the other Dogmatika. I'll mention that in a second. We also have 1 Ldl the Golden Lord, 1 Red Eyes Black Dragon, and 1 Dark Magician. So these are basically the monster lineup we have. For our spells, we have 3 Magical Meltdown, 3 Shaddoll Fusion, 3 Nadir Servants, 2 Super Polys, 2 Invocations, 2 Talents, 2 Ldls, 1 Red Ice Fusion, and 1 Call by the Grave. For traps, it's Shaddoll Schism, Rush Shaddoll Incarnation, Dogmatika Punishment, and 2 Infinite Impermanence. So this is a deck, it's about 40 cards, I believe. I still haven't counted yet, but I'm pretty sure it's around 40. And there's a lot we got to talk about in this deck. But before we do, let's go ahead and move on to the extra deck. So for the extra deck, for Shaddolls, I never change it. It's going to be 2 Construct, 2 App Cologne, and 2 Winda. That's the Doll lineup. For Invoked, we have 1 Mechaba, 1 Ragin, 1 Caliga, 1 Ogordes, Reddish Dragoon, Storm Venom Fusion Dragon, Reda Anaconda, Artemis, and Gravity Controller. So that's the extra deck. And then for the side deck, which I didn't really spend much time on, I'll be honest. It is 3 Dark Ruler No More, 3 Nibiru, 1 Frankatops, 1 Harpy's Featherster, 1 Red Reboot, 3 Evenly Match, and 3 Twin Twisters. So let's start off with the side deck first, which kind of makes no sense to do, but I gotta do it. So the reason we're playing 3 Twin and 3 Evenly is depending on whether we're going first or second. This card's really good because we're seeing a lot of Sword Soul players play anti-spell. So this card I like a lot. Evenly is also good for that as well. But it really depends on the circumstances. I like to have this as much as possible because I feel like, you know, when you draw for your turn and they're going to activate anti-spell, I want to Twin Twist you so I can try to kill you that turn as well. So that's why I like this a little bit more. Didn't really get a chance to really go back and forth on these as much. Definitely going to need more testing, but this is all basically back row removal. And I feel like with dolls, as long as you can remove your opponent's back row, the game's over. And I played yesterday, I played a bunch of decks. But one of those was an Ldl deck, and getting rid of back row was huge for me. And luckily I was able to do that and lock that game out. Nibiru is just a really good card in this format. I think everyone needs to side it, if not main it. And Dark Ruler No More. So I have Forbidden Droplet. I don't play Forbidden Droplet. I'd rather play Dark Ruler No More because we can't give resources away in a resource-based deck. Someone did a profile the other day, and they showed in the profile they main Forbidden Droplet, and I was like, you shouldn't give those resources away. Like, what are you doing? Like, your losses are because you ran out of gas because you burnt it all on a droplet. Like, makes 0 sense. With Dark Rule No More, yeah, we can't kill them that turn, but we don't necessarily need to kill our opponents. If we set a board up, they have to always respond to us. You know, you go Dark Rule No More, you could turn a proactive board into a reactive situation. I'm sorry, you can turn a reactive board into proactive, meaning if my opponent sets their board up and I Dark Rule them and I break their board and create my board, they now have to respond to me. Even though they went first, they have to respond to me because of one card. Whereas Droplet, you're kind of going back and forth. You're doing a weird dance, which I don't agree with. So it's all about the extra deck. Once again, like I said, Doll lineup. Keep dropping cards. The Doll lineup is not indifferent. It's 2 Construct, 2 Out Cologne, 2 Window. This should never change. I'm seeing kids try to play 3 Construct, which is, if you're playing 3 Construct, you were really bad at managing resources. I'm sorry. There's no nice way to tell you. Like, this is the perfect way you should do it. Everyone that plays dolls and any hybrid variation should play it like this. 100%. The only way I'm going to see a 3rd Construct is you're playing more pure dolls. So that's right out the gate. The extra deck, the links have not changed. You always run Verde and Akane, obviously. Artemis, you always run, and Gravity Controller. So the only time these change up would be most likely Artemis. If you want to run that Fire Link monster, once again, it's been a while since I played YuGiOh, but those 2 Link monsters that you swap out for. And if you want to play those cards, then I guess you can play the Dogmatika monster. But that's a crappy build, really weak. I'll get into that when I talk about the main deck. This is definitely the better way to go about it. Obviously, you play Ldl Fusion Dragon. I played Dragoons, and I'm taking it out. The only reason I played Dragoons because I didn't have Phoenix Enforcer. Would I play Phoenix Enforcer? Sure, I'll try it out. I'm not sure if it's good or not. I have 0 idea. But I don't want to play Dragoons in this build. I only played it because, once again, I didn't have Phoenix Enforcer. And to be honest with you, I wanted to try it out, and it's not good. As far as the Invoked package, so, once again, I'm running a Mechaba, Raging, Caliga, and Ogoides. And to be honest with you, we don't need Caliga. Caliga was only good against Drytrons, and you really don't need Caliga at all against Drytrons. It's a cute thing to do, but Drytron players don't care. Like, they will play around this. It's not that big of a deal. So, I think, Mechaba, Raging, Ogoides, we could fit another monster in here. We could fit actually 2 monsters in here. In my next profile, I'll probably get to tell you what they are once I redo this, redo some stuff. But, yeah, this is good right here. And we have 2 slots that are not open. Once again, I'll talk about that in my next profile. But if you are looking to do this profile, just know you have 2 open slots. All right. Let's go right into the main deck, because this is probably my favorite part. So, once again, this is going to be out of the deck. You don't need this. People can run the Phoenix Enforcer package if they want to. I love Golden Lord a lot now, because Golden Lord is almost like, your main deck answers to, like, Anti-Spell and Imperial Order. So, I like this card a lot. And it helps, end the game. These are only Dogmatika monsters you need. You don't need any more. In fact, you go play these 2 and run the Trap and... Oh, it's in my hand. You can play these 2 and run Punishment. And I think I resolved Punishment once yesterday. For the most part, every other time, it was either going away for Golden Lord. I was pitching it away for Suapali. Punishment was not that needed, but it's cool to get an extra resource. And if you only run Fleur de Lis and Ecclesia, you're going to be seeing yourself wanting to get an extra resource. So that's why I decided to run it like that. I will say, though, as far as the Dogmatika monster, it's a terrible card. A lot of decks right now can gain resources by you pumping out 2 extra of the extra deck monsters to the graveyard. Also, this extra deck doesn't need, they can't really do it, because what are you going to send? You're guaranteed going to send an app clone, but whatever else you send is a resource. Why are you giving away resources? Like, it makes 0 sense. I understand people want to rush into getting their Schism. I get that. Like, everyone wants to rush this card. But this deck is so good at getting you the card. It makes no sense to play crappy cards to do it. And then those crappy cards can have a chance to give your opponent resources. That's literally what this deck is made for your opponent not to do. Gain value. So I don't agree with that whatsoever. I like this package. I like this package a lot for Shaddolls. I think this is the best variation in numbers for this build and just a pure Shaddoll Invoked build. Which I might be doing on this channel. I might be showing you a Shaddoll Invoked. It's still a really good deck, and a lot of people sleep on that deck. But Don't see much Shaddoll Invoked. That deck was that deck, I think Shaddoll Invoked beats this deck. If I'm gonna be 100 honest, like if you played 100 matches, 70 matches is going Shaddoll Invoked over this deck. I'm just straight up with you because I think it's more efficient. Though the best deck of Shaddolls would probably be this variation against the entire meta. But yeah, I think this is the best variation. Of course, we run Alistair. This card is really good. Going to our spells, 3 Meltdown. People are playing Terraforming, and I think that's a horrible idea. I hate Terraforming with Meltdown because you don't really do much with it. Don't get me wrong. I know I just said the same thing about the Dogmatika Punishment, that you don't really use it. The difference is you search Punishment, where Terraforming, you don't search Terraforming. You just get it. And if you have Terraforming, Meltdown, and Alistair, you basically have one card. Alistair. And don't get me wrong, Meltdown on board's of course amazing, and fusion summoning, and it's really important. But for the most part, Terraforming, Meltdown, Alistair equals one card. That's not really good. You're not really doing much. You want to limit the amount of that interaction that you have to deal with. So I think it's really important to not go through that situation. So that's why I think 3 Meltdowns is more than enough. You do not need a 4th Meltdown, a 4th Terraforming to do that. It's just really bad. 3 Ldl Fusions is kind of the staple. 3 Disturbance card is absolutely amazing. I always loved opening this card. So I want to play 3 Super Poly. The problem playing 3 Super Poly is opening 2 is not that good. The card's really good, but you're giving away 2 cards to kind of slow your opponent down. Maybe break their board depending on the game state. It's a great card, don't get me wrong, and maybe I'll try to test out a 3rd one, but it's going to be really hard to try to fit that in there. Double Invocation is kind of the staple. Double Talents. So I own 3 Starlight Talents. I love triple. It's my favorite card. This card's so unfair. The thing about talents is, opening talents isn't always the best, and opening 2 talents is the worst. So this is why you only play 2, because you do not want to open multiple copies of this card. So another card I upped was Ldl Fusion. Ldl Fusion I upped because people are playing anti-spell now more predominantly. We're seeing a lot of players play a lot of reactive cards, and if our opponent has reactive cards, we need to also have reactive cards. So that's why I decided to go with Ldl Fusion. You know, we draw for our turn, our opponent cracks open anti-spell fragrance during standby phase. You need to have an answer immediately. And Ldl Fusion is a phenomenal answer. Not only is it a phenomenal answer, but I mean, with 2 Skomatas, a dragon, there's a good chance we're popping that anti-spell they just activated. They just gave us free knowledge, and we just used 1 card to kind of get us into the game during standby phase, which I do think is a pretty big deal. One thing, like I said, I'm taking out the red eyes. I couldn't find my 3rd Imperm. I have a 3rd one. I just couldn't find it before the locals. Like I said, I put this deck together. But I will be probably more than likely adding a 3rd Imperm. I like Imperm over Droplet. Once again, this is an even exchange. I think it's better than Effect Veiler. Every deck that runs Effect Veiler runs Imperm. And if they had to choose whether it's Effect Veiler or Imperm, most decks would choose Imperm over Veiler. So I think that Imperm is really, 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 really good. So decided to keep it in there. Obviously, Schism and Restaurant Incarnation is still a phenomenal card. I'm seeing a lot of players cut this card. This card right here allows you to go into so much combo right at the gate. You know, there's so many times during my locals I played yesterday where I had Construct and Skomata. So I was able to send Restaurant Incarnation, and I was able to send Wendy effect, set the Hedgehog effect, flip Hedgehog. Hedgehog let me get Schism, and then I have a Construct and I have a Hedgehog that I could go into something else. So I mean, it's a lot of interactive play based off the Strap card. This card is absolutely amazing. I don't think the players should cut it. Players that are cutting it are definitely are doing it incorrectly. Once again, so this is Shaddoll Invoked Dogmatika, and I just want to say that I tested Despias to no end, and as much as I love Despias, they don't really do much as far as opening. Opening Despia threatens your opponent with getting damaged by 600 life points. And that's not that scary. That's not that big of a deal. You know, when you're going into... So let's analyze the engines. When Invoked, you got Mecha Butt. So you got an Omni Negate, depending which in your hand, of course. But for the most part, Omni Negate. With Shaddolls, you got Winda. You're going to lock your opponent out. That's great. With Dogmatika, you're going to help your Shaddoll engine to get a second Winda, which is huge, as well as have a negation within hand. With Despias, it doesn't really do as much. I like Despias a lot. I bought the entire core max rarity at peak. I love Despias. But you got to be honest when you're looking into competitive meta decks, and Despias isn't good enough for this meta. I'm not saying it's a terrible deck. There might be some random guy, some random locals somewhere that might win or top us locals with Despias. Cool. But you're not doing that at a bigger event. It's just not happening. And I think Shaddoll Invoked Dogmatika is one of the best decks to consistently bring out this engine and realistically, this build is made. Well, once again, I'll have an updated version of this build, but this is what I played yesterday. But the build of Shaddoll Invoked Dogmatika is really made to break your opponent's board, create a board, and tell your opponent better have it. And your opponent has to break this board in a way that we don't get value, which is almost impossible. Like, we're constantly getting value. So I really do think that Shaddoll Invoked Dogmatika is one of those decks that look at the meta right now and just break it down. I know a lot of players out there are going, well, there's birds, there's birds, there's once again, it's been a while since I'm trying to get back to knowing the names. I understand the cards and names. There's Phantom Knights, there's all these decks, Drytrons that do so many things. How do you feel so confident with this deck? This deck answers all those decks. Like, a lot of those decks just scoop turn 1 sometimes, because this deck just, by naturally doing what it does, locks them out. And in game 2, this deck looks at their board and can break that board. Imagine that. Like, you're playing against birds and you go Winda. I know some random guys can be like, well, V, I'll activate my random card that, I'll activate my impermanent and I'll do whatever. It's like, dude, I'm not just going to go Winda and pass turn. It's like Winda Schism. Like, there's a lot of things that can happen. Overall, though, one of the main things about this deck that's so cool about it is that this deck is really meant just to shut your opponent down as fast as possible. And it does it efficiently. And I feel like a lot of decks in the meta don't have an answer to getting that shut down. Cool, you got a droplet. Here's another window. Do you have another one? No? All right. GG. Let's go next game. Like, this is what this deck can do. And I feel like the power of going double window, the power of having negation, the power of having omnegation, the power of going Ldl, as well as going into Ldl, as well as going into Schism is huge. Another thing as well in game 2 and 3, I don't go into Schism as much. I usually add Ldl because people are playing Cosmic Cyclone. Little fun fact. But overall, once again, I think this deck is really good. If not one of the best decks, definitely. If not the best deck, one of the best decks of the meta, because of how it naturally just locks out the opponent from the game. And it does it quickly. And once your opponent's locked out, the deck quickly ends the game in the following turn. So, once again, stick around. I'm going to have some more videos coming out with dolls. I'm also going to have a Sky Striker video coming out as well. We're going to be talking about Sky Strikers and how good they are, because that's another phenomenal deck this format. And also Drytrons. Those are the 3 decks that I really enjoy and we'll do videos on. I might pick up birds if you ever want me to do a video talking about birds. I'm not going to do a video on Sword Souls. Everyone's doing those Sword Souls videos. Sword Souls to me are just really boring. The minute people start signing Token Collector, nobody's playing Sword Souls. Like, I don't want to be mean, but that's a fact. Like the minute Token Collector goes on the side, I'm not sure. I don't even know why people haven't realized this yet. Even though Sword Souls is really good, Token Collector is a lot better. So I think a lot of once a lot of players side correctly and play correctly, I think the most dominant deck would be birds, if I had to guess. But birds have a huge problem against a lot of decks, and I think that on this channel we'll talk about videos talking about not only the best deck, which definitely is birds, know that on my mind, but there's other decks out there that just smoke that deck out, and I think Shaddoll Invoked Dogmatika. I mean, for me, that deck's like the buy. And I'll have videos coming up. We might be live streaming as well on Twitch TV, YGOPaisano. I'm going to start doing that eventually. And we'll be able to talk about it. I'll be able to show you guys. Anyway, Paisanos, it's your boy V. You Paisanos have a great day.